Welcome to the Legalpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Sager, and I'm dedicated to covering common legal issues for small business owners and just how some of the world's most elite entrepreneurs have handled legal issues themselves. In true attorney fashion, the information in this episode is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only, and you should always consult with your attorney before implementing any of the information. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to the Legalpreneur podcast. I'm so happy that you're back. Today, we have our guest interview with my very own business mentor and somebody who has helped me grow my business tremendously. I know that today's episode, you're going to learn so much. Chris Harder is an entrepreneur, investor, avid philanthropist, and podcaster. After an 11-year career as an executive and partner in the banking industry, he retired from banking in 2011 and partnered with his wife, Lori, to start and scale 4 different multi-million-dollar businesses, along with investing in several other successful startups. He has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, MSNBC, CNBC, and Yahoo Finance. Chris is the host of the top-rated podcast For the Love of Money, aimed at helping entrepreneurs bust through their limiting money mindset beliefs in order to become unapologetic about their pursuit of wealth and success. Chris also founded the Elite Entrepreneur Mastermind, helping 7-figure business owners scale their business through careful, curated collaboration, along with the Fast Foundations Mastermind, which helps entrepreneurs in their early stages of business. Chris's core belief and motto is that when good people make good money, they do great things. And let me tell you, people, Chris totally lives by this every single day. He is one of the most giving people I have ever met. He's always there to help a friend in need. He's always there to give back. Anybody that needs anything, he's there for you. Now, some of the key takeaways from this episode is Chris's own entrepreneurial journey. He also shares why new businesses actually have the biggest need for attorney guidance. And you will get to hear how he actually learned about IP infringement the hard way. So make sure that you are ready for all of this, and make sure you stay tuned till the end, because you will find out how to get access to his own Money Principles course for free. Yes, I am giving away one of his courses for free, so make sure you stay tuned and learn how to enter. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the show, Chris Harder. I know that my audience is in for a treat today. You are one of my absolute favorite mentors. I'm so grateful to have you in my life, and I'm so grateful to have you here on the podcast.
Andrea, totally my pleasure. You are my favorite attorney turned friend, so I can't freaking wait.
Love it, love it. Okay, so let's get started. Just give the audience a rundown of who you are, what you do, and how you came to be who you are today.
Oh, God, that's a loaded question considering my age. Let me give you a super high level overview, and then you can go do a deep dive anywhere you want. So Midwest born and raised. And the cool thing about being raised in the Midwest is you're given like really good core values, like work ethic is off the charts, family values, a lot of these things that truly matter in life. And then if you're a big dreamer like me, you realize that those are some of the things that, and don't send me hate mail, but aren't quite as fostered in the Midwest as they are on the coasts. And so if you can take those awesome things that you grew up with in the Midwest, and if you can bring it out to the coasts where all the opportunity and action is at the highest levels, then that's a pretty powerful 1-2 punch. And that's how we ended up out here in LA today doing all the different things that we have. Now, was it an easy journey, or was the formula as easy as that? Heck no. I was booted out of college after 2.5 years because I didn't want to be there. I mean, they were literally like, keep your money. We don't want it. We don't want you here.
I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
Oh, for sure. I went to college because my parents wanted me to go to college, right? It was the right thing to do. And parents give advice and grandparents give advice based on the right thing for them during their era. But we have to realize in this world, there's no one size fits all. And I did not want to go. So I went for the wrong reasons. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to drink every drop of alcohol on campus and make it fun. And so I went there, and that's all I did is I just partied and got booted out and didn't even go to class or buy any books my last semester that is there. And talk about sabotaging something when you don't want to do it, right? My parents were devastated. They're like, oh my God, you've ruined your life. What are you going to do for a living? And I was excited. I was like, ooh, I want to be out participating in the economy. I already knew this about myself. Like, give me a job where the sky's a limit, no cap on my income. Let's go. And I jumped into car sales. because I loved cars. Like I've been obsessed with them my whole life. So seemed like a logical thing to do. No cap on your earnings, all commission, and I get to hang around cars all day. Sign me up. So I did that for a year and a half. I quickly became, in the first few months, the number one selling car salesman there, being this young kid who was, maybe 21 at the time, among all these other, 25 other salespeople, and then got promoted into their finance department, worked there for a long time. And right about when that was going well, there was this big mortgage boom and banking boom starting to form. And all my friends were getting into it. They're making a ton of money. And of course, I wanted to go make a ton of money as well. So I talked my way into a job at a bank that I did not qualify for because I didn't have that degree as a loan officer. Got there, crushed it, and worked my way up to end up running like a quarter of the country's lending, which was huge because this is the world's biggest bank at the time. It was great. It was like the most fun, amazing, hang out with all your guy friends in the office kind of atmosphere for about 7 or 8 years. But then after that, the recession hit and everything went downhill from there, like horrible. And I spent a year just flying around, waking up first thing in the morning, jumping on an airplane, flying to some random town like Rapid City, South Dakota, or Sioux Falls or something like that, shutting down a bank branch, telling everybody one-on-one, hey, we're letting you go today, sorry. And then going back to some random hotel because I was miserable and had to wake up the next day and go do the same thing. So I gained 30 pounds during this time. Went from super happy, awesome job to gained a bunch of weight because all I would do is drink and eat comfort food when I would be done at the end of the day sitting in the hotel by myself. So this was, needless to say, absolute lowest point of my adult life. What made it worse was because I was miserable. I was then a miserable husband to be around for Lori. So our marriage was at its lowest point. What made it even worse then is because everything was going so well up until the recession, and because I was this young, cocky, arrogant 20-something that thought it would last forever, I used to joke that I'm not spending this year's money, I'm spending next year's money. Like I could predict what my raise and my bonus and all that was going to be. And so we were living beyond our means. And that came to a crash as well when finally, after spending a year closing down branches, they came to me and said, hey, we'll give you a demotion of a demotion of a demotion of a demotion, and you can wait this thing out running a branch in Jersey. We were living in Minneapolis at the time, by the way. Or you can take your severance package. And I said, give me the severance package. I'm out of here. Now, I remember that like my boss and my boss's boss are like, wait, don't you want to go home and discuss this with your wife first? Don't you want to stay and wait this thing out? I'm like, hell no. We are so miserable. Trust me. She wants me to take severance. I want to take severance. We are out. So I took that severance and we used it to pay off all of our debt. We short sold this big, gorgeous home that we had just built, got rid of all of our rental properties, had to walk away from a lot of them because they're so far upside down. Just basically cleaned everything off the books, literally and physically, and went and started over in a tiny little 900 square foot condo or apartment in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right there in Uptown. And that began our entrepreneurial journey with all the companies and the accolades and everything else that people know of us today with.
Wow. Okay. So I am really glad that I asked that question because I had no idea about half this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So when did you guys actually move out to LA?
We moved out to LA 8 years ago. So what is it, 2020 right now? That would be, I think it was January 2012 was when we moved out here.
Wow. Okay. So really quickly, tell me about how you guys started your entrepreneurial journey.
So at the time, my wife, who never had a chance to have a career because I would literally get a promotion and move her to another city like every 9 months to 12 months. So I'd say, hey, babe, got a promotion. Yay, we're moving to, wherever, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, pack up the house and go pick out a new one, go make some friends. I got to get an airplane.
Oh, that sounds like, so my husband was active duty in the Army, so I know exactly how that goes.
Totally. And so it's not fair to her because she never had the chance to cultivate or have to really go create any kind of career. And finally, when we lost everything, she said, I'm never going to let this happen again. I am going to be one of the breadwinners. Now, that's not that simple. Of course, a big portion of that is she was missing fulfillment and accomplishment as well. And this was just a good opportunity where our back was against the wall to make her go out and do it. So she had won a bunch of fitness shows right about this time, was on the cover of a bunch of fitness magazines at the time, had just gotten a certificate to be a personal trainer, and started her own small little one-on-one training studio in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I remember her being at home. We're walking around the lakes where we'd walk around every day. Walking's always been a big daily piece of our life. And we were saying, how do I make more money from the clients who can only afford to come see me once a week or maybe twice a week? Because she was one of the higher priced trainers in Minneapolis there at the time. And we said, well, why don't you just write out little workouts and give it to them every month? They'll change every month. And you can, charge them, I don't know, a small fee, like $89 a month or something. This was before everybody had online workout programs, before everyone had anything like that. So this was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, actually, the beginning of this huge fitness brand that she built that turned into a huge self-development brand. And at that same time, I had taken a partnership with a tiny little mortgage brokerage because there were no jobs and all I had was lending experience. But I knew the guy who started it. And when we grew that company, at the tail end of the recession, when everyone else was shutting their doors, by the way, from a nothing little few-man shop to 155 employees in 7 states doing $330 million a year in loans, we had turned into a mortgage bank lending our own money at that point. You'd think everything was awesome, but it wasn't, because the bigger the team and the bigger the company got, the bigger the cracks were exposed between his leadership style and my leadership style, and his vision and my vision. And he was a senior partner. I was a junior partner. He had started the company. And long story short, after 3 years of that, I'm like, I'm out. Like, buy me out, write me a check. I'm out of here. And I came home and said to Lori, I'm like, babe, if I partnered with you and did all the parts of building your fitness brand that you don't like doing, then I really believe that we could turn this into something absolutely epic. And so we did. We incorporated supplements through network marketing into it and built a huge couple 100,000 person team. The monthly workout plan turned into one of the first huge workout plans ever created by fitness personalities online. The gym got bigger. Like, everything about the journey accelerated really once I came home, and she and I locked arms together.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we're digging into this. I love to hear about the journey, how you guys started and how you have grown and evolved and still evolving, which I'm really excited for. So I'm sure you had a certain outlook on attorneys being in the finance industry. Can you tell me if you remember, what you thought about attorneys back in the day when you were actually working in the baking industry and not doing what you're doing now?
Oh, heck yeah. So I thought attorneys were for like rich people with bigger businesses. I thought unless you have a massive business, you don't spend the money on an attorney. You just kind of look up a contract yourself online or write up a contract yourself or figure it out. Or I really thought attorneys were untouchable, almost like they make them seem in the movies. And so unfortunately, a lot of our businesses at first did not have the proper contracts in place, did not have the proper processes in place. And what happens is there's so many solopreneurs and tiny businesses out there that when they're getting started, the last place they want to spend their money is on an attorney. And so they think, oh, that's for when I have a big company. It's not for now. I'll just do a gentleman's agreement, a handshake, a written contract among ourselves, you name it. And that's where they get themselves into trouble. And right down to things like IP, or intellectual property, which is something I had no idea what IP really was when we were starting our entrepreneurial journey. So I would have never consulted an IP attorney necessarily. What happened was we had an assistant. So remember my wife's fitness brand, she had meal guides, cookbooks, and all this stuff. We had an assistant who put together the imagery for a cookbook that Lori wrote. And she went and used a picture of potato salad that she Googled online. Seems pretty innocent to me. And downloaded it, put it in the book. Somehow, years and years later, that thing came back to bite us. I got an email and a letter from some law firm, and they're like, you owe us, I forget the amount, $3,500 or $4,500 or something like that for damages and use of this unauthorized picture, just all this other stuff. And I was like, what the heck is this? And we dug into it, and sure enough, we found out that we were at fault. We should have done the research ourselves. We should have consulted an attorney, and we were able to negotiate, but still had to pay, a couple $1,000 or whatever it was to get them to go away over this innocent little picture of potato salad. So now I understand why. Now I understand how it works. But when you're starting a business and when you're trying to not spend money on anything that doesn't have an immediate return, at least in your opinion, unfortunately, you make those really dumb mistakes. You think things like attorneys are just for people once they have a big, thriving, multi-million dollar business. And that's not the case. I would argue this. Attorneys are more important in the beginning of your journey than they are once you have accumulated a lot of knowledge, know what to look for, and that kind of thing. You need somebody looking out for you. You need somebody in your corner when you are young and dumb and full of ambition, moving a million miles an hour, knowing nothing what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, so with my Legalpreneur membership that provides all access to me and my team, the clients that take advantage of the program the most are the brand new businesses or the businesses that aren't even a business yet. They're just getting ready to launch. That's when they have the most questions. And that's when it's most beneficial to have that attorney in your corner. So I'm glad you touched on that. So I want to go back to the photo really quickly. Now, I want to highlight the fact that you guys used this photo years before ever receiving a letter, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. So I want the audience to understand, even if you've been in business for 6 months, 6 years, or 60 years, if you used a photo that you don't have a proper license to use, that is copyright infringement, and it can come back to bite you in the butt many, many, many years later. Now, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, even people that aren't business owners, they think as long as I give credit, that's okay. But I also want to highlight that that's not okay. It doesn't matter if you give credit or not, it's copyright infringement and you're still liable for any damages that occur from you using that photo without a proper license. And a license, all it is permission. It could be a paid license. So if you find somebody on Instagram and you like their photo, all you have to do is message them and say, hey, I love this photo. Can I repost it on my own Instagram? Or can I put this on my website? And maybe they'll say, yeah, go ahead. Or maybe they say, yeah, but you have to pay, $100 or a couple of $100, whatever it is. But as long as you have that permission, then you can use that photo without getting in trouble for copyright infringement.
I wish this stuff was around, by the way, when I was young and getting started in business, because we didn't have your Legalpreneur membership. We didn't have anything like that available. We had to literally go to an attorney's office and engage with them and make sure we chose the right one. And it was too cumbersome and too expensive. And I think that's why there's something intimidating about both the process and the cost about it,
Right. And I think a lot of times, especially today, online businesses are a completely new industry. It's a completely new interface. And a lot of attorneys don't understand how online businesses work. I've honestly had clients come to me and tell me that, they had another attorney, but they honestly just did not understand how the client made money because they were an online business. And it's completely true because a lot of these attorneys, they're older attorneys getting ready to retire, and they just don't understand the internet and how it's possible to make a living doing something online.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's important to understand that the attorney you're working with understands your business and how you're making money.
And that's the key. You almost have to feel like you have an attorney that gets you and understands entrepreneurship and business, not just law. And I feel like sometimes those are hard to find. There's too many people that talk in attorney speak. There's too many people that make it intimidating or don't speak in your terms and in layman's terms. You need to go find the attorney like you. It's not a plug for you. It's just a fact that actually understands small business, that actually understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur, that knows what you're going through and can actually help you say, well, we could save a little money here. We could save a little money there. We could maybe do an end around on this thing. Someone that understands why we think the way we think as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I think you and I, if you don't mind me touching on this, you and I started working together because your other trademark attorney was essentially, in my opinion, ripping you off because all you needed to do was finish this last step to complete the trademark, which is called a statement of use. And you're like, I don't even know what I'm paying for. They just email me every 6 months and say, hey, we need this. And we don't have the time to get it. And I looked at it and I was like, dude, all you need is this screenshot. I can do it for you in 5 minutes.
That was exactly it. We were paying thousands of dollars a month to this New York firm. And by the way, nothing against them. I take ownership of this, but thousands of dollars a month. And they would send a bill with all these things on it. I'm like, I don't know what any of this is, but I know I need this protection. I know I need these trademarks. Let's just file an extension again. And the amount of money that I spent on that firm to really do very little of anything, I think is why entrepreneurs get intimidated by attorneys or feel like they're scam artists or anything like that. The problem is you can't have that opinion. You, just like I, need to take 100% ownership of, hey, I could have gone and found an Andrea much quicker. Instead, I was placing all this value in the shiny New York tower that this guy worked in. And I didn't even know him. He was just, I call it lazy referrals. In other words, I just threw it out there. Who knows a good attorney? Somebody with a really huge company said, oh, I know this guy. He's really good. I'll hook you up. He hooked me up. And that was the end of my research. Guys, you have to do more research in that, because now working with Andrea, it is this incredible feeling. I feel like everything's protected. I know where my money's going. She saves me a ton of freaking money compared to what the other firm was billing me all the time. Again, I don't mean to make this sound like some pitch for you, but that's the fact. Like, do your due diligence. Go find the attorney that actually gets you and gets your business, and also isn't paying for a huge New York tower when your business doesn't need one of those types of scenarios.
Right. And I know a lot of those New York firms, the bigger firms, they charge hourly for everything. And I have completely done away with that, because I've been there. I've done that. I've been in the situation at the big firm when, the partner came and gave me an assignment, and, he tells me, hey, make sure you take your time on this. So something that takes me 20 minutes, they want me to take 2 hours on it. So I've been there. I've done the hourly billing, and I'm just like, listen, this is not what small business owners need. I have been in your shoes, and we're going to make this work for you guys. So since you've been in business for a while, can you estimate how much you spent on attorneys? And I only ask this because I want small business owners to understand that it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg to work with a small business attorney to protect your business.
I can guess. I know I seemed to be paying roughly $2,500 a month with this other firm. I don't know for how long. So let's just assume that is 50 grand worth of getting some of these trademarks registered and extending them and the whole 9 yards. I know I spent money on attorneys when we finally learned what IP was and that we needed to, take it seriously prior to that as well. So maybe throw another 25 grand in there. But then here's where I spent a lot of money. And this is why, guys, it's so important to have the right attorney, and also to know that you are going to spend money on legal fees, period, if you want to be in business. So Lori has a famous annual event called The Bliss Project. As a matter of fact, it's happening in just a few weeks here out in LA. Shameless plug. You can go to theblissproject.info if you want to get a ticket. I know Andrea's going. So she has this famous Bliss Project. And there's also another company out there called Bliss Spas. If you've ever stayed in hotels, you always see the soap and the lotion and that kind of thing that's usually in the hotel. They, out of the blue one day, said, you can't use Bliss Project. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, like, this has nothing to do with your little lotions. Go away. And because they, I don't know what the term would be, Andrea, objected?
It's called an opposition.
Okay, so because they opposed us using it, unfortunately, we spent another $44,000 on top of anything that I mentioned already, just arguing back and forth, our attorneys and theirs. I don't even know if they really had conversations. At one point, I was like, you guys are just like sending emails back and forth, aren't you? So sending emails back and forth between the two of them, I spent $44,000 just to come to some agreement that we can use the Bliss Project in these categories and we can't use it in these other ones. It's the stupidest thing on the planet and the biggest waste of money.
Yeah, no, so that happens quite often, and it's always these bigger companies trying to bully the small businesses. Like, I have one right now where the other party who opposed my client thought they were, just Susie Homemaker sitting at home. And I told the other attorney, like, look, my client has had $1 million business ever since she launched. She is not giving you what you want without putting up a fight. So it's important to know, when this situation happens to you, you have to know that you're working with the right attorney, because it's not very often that these oppositions happen. But when they do, they can add up very, very quickly. So Chris, for your Bliss Project, you guys didn't even actually go through a full proceeding. Like, I know exactly what happened with your attorneys. It was just a lot of emailing back and forth, taking their time, dragging along whatever they can. And if you're not careful, you can get these very, very high legal bills that are not necessary. So typically when an opposition like this happens, immediately the first thing I do is contact the other side. I'm like, okay, what do you guys want? How can we, fix our application or fix our registration in order to make sure that it's not going to be confusing with your mark? And it just burns me sometimes when I see bigger firms taking advantage of small businesses, because I like to say we're playing small ball, and you definitely have to be careful when you're playing small ball because you can definitely win. But you don't have to pay the big firms. You don't have to pay $500, $600, $700 an hour. You can find a small business attorney that will fight for you without charging you an arm and a leg.
Andrew, I think I was paying 9 something an hour. I'm not kidding. So like, I bet
Oh
you
my
that whole
gosh.
bliss spa thing that happened, I bet I probably could have came to the same resolution for 10 grand instead of 44.
Yeah, maybe not even that much. So the oppositions that we fight, we have been very successful in getting them settled very quickly because quite frankly, I tell them, look, we're not rolling over for you. So I just want to put that out there again. Make sure you're working with the right attorney. And I'm not trying to just plug me. There are so many small business attorneys out there that are willing to fight for you and not rip you off.
But you got to make sure that they've got that little shark side to them like you have.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. This is a very important point. I just want to say, so now at this point, we have so many multi-million-dollar businesses, I can hardly shake a stick at it, right? I say that only to paint the scope from which I'm about to say. People think that you have to spend the most on the fancy attorney at the fancy location with the fancy name in order to win those disputes. And it's just not true. What happens, unfortunately, is as you really learn your way in business, the more successful you are, you actually realize that you don't need that at all. It's all smoke and mirrors. You just need the effective attorney that knows and cares and likes you. And that person will go to bat just as effectively, if not more effectively, than any shiny tower that is sitting out there. So my advice is go seek the pit bull that has your back. Don't go for the shiny name and all of the glitz that comes along with it. It is not the more you pay, the safer you are. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah, I can't agree more. All right, so wrapping up here, what is one business tip that you can give the listeners? Doesn't have to be any legal tips or anything like that, just one business tip.
One business tip. Okay, here's one. When you're just getting started in business and the money starts rolling in, I want you to remember this. It's a revenue, not a paycheck. I see this way too often. So somebody does a launch, they create some kind of coaching course or some kind of knowledge course or whatever the product is. And they do a launch and it goes really well and they make $50,000 in their 2-week launch. They're like, oh my God, I've made $50,000. And then they do this funky math where they're like, if I did this once a month, that's $50,000 a month. I'm now making $600,000. And they go out and they get a nicer car and they get a nicer home. And 2 things that I want to caution you of here. Number 1, there's something called the sophomore slump. Second time you launch something, it'll always be much harder than the first time because you've already used up all your low-hanging fruit, all your fans that were waiting for you to launch something. Second thing is it's revenue, not a paycheck. You don't get to count that as salary like you do in a job. And this is really for the people that used to have jobs and now are becoming entrepreneurs. It's not like your paycheck that you took home after tax. You need to make dang sure that you have your cash flow set up in place so that you're putting away your taxes, you're putting away marketing budget, you're putting away a legal budget, you're putting away all these other things and paying yourself a piece, a portion that is predetermined out of all of this revenue that's coming in. This is where I see people go wrong all the time.
I love that. No, that is so true. So last year I brought in revenue wise just under $450,000, which was a lot more than what I was anticipating. A lot thanks to the mastermind that I'm in with you. But
thank you.
So my brother and my mom, for some reason, they think I have all this money hiding. Because they think, oh, she brought in $450,000. There's no way she spent that much, so she must have it hiding. And I'm like, no, you guys, like I have a full team. I have to make payroll. I have expenses. So I'm still trying to get them to understand that my firm's revenue is not exactly what I'm bringing home.
Exactly. And like, guys, this is going to happen. When you become successful, I want you to know, friends, family, neighbor, everybody is going to think you have more money than you do because they don't understand entrepreneurship. They don't understand the costs and the investments involved with entrepreneurship. So you can't feel guilty, like, yes, I'll pay for dinner. Yes, I'll pay your rent. Yes, I'll do these things. You need to stand firm and either explain to them how money works when you're an entrepreneur, or just simply know that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. Going more into the money stuff, you have a course, right?
I do. And this is so important. Listen, when you're just getting started, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you need to get your relationship with your finances. And that's how you feel about it, how you act with your finances, the actions you take. Like, you need to get that foundation absolutely right. And so I did a free 4-video series that people can get if they want. They can go to fortheloveofmoney.com. That's FOR, fortheloveofmoney.com/free. fortheloveofmoney.com/free. Take the free 4-video series. It'll improve your hourly worth immediately. It'll improve how you feel about money and how it works in the world, how it goes around. It'll really shore a lot of things up for you in 4 short videos. Yeah, there's also a course you can go buy after that if you want, but just the free video course alone is enough to really start building a foundation for you. So just go check that out. fortheloveofmoney.com/free. It's my gift to everyone.
Thank you so much for that. No, and I'm going to actually double down on that. If you screenshot this episode and you share it to your Instagram stories, tag at Andrea Sager Law and at Chris W. Harder, both of us on Instagram, tell us what you like most about this show. I'm going to give away 1 free course to Chris's Money Principles course.
No way.
I have been through it myself. I've been through the video series. It is all very, very beneficial to anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, more so to entrepreneurs, because it's a different game when you are an entrepreneur. It's a different money game. It's not just about, oh, great, I brought in this money today, I get to go spend it all. No, you have to make sure that you are saving for expenses, saving for your taxes. That was a big one for me this year because I wasn't expecting the revenue that I made. So now I owe the IRS $6,000, which I'm getting ready to shell out, which is, it's good to know that I'm making money. But seriously, you guys need to get on your money principles as a business owner to make sure that you are not in a position to where you have to shell out $20,000, $30,000 to the IRS when you don't even have it because you didn't save for it and you weren't expecting it. So make sure you screenshot it. Don't worry, I will share the link to the video series, the link to everything in the show notes. Make sure you check that out.
I will share it too. Thank you for doing that, by the way. Tag me, tag Andrea. I will share it in my stories. Like, that is the coolest thing ever that you did. Thank you.
No problem. Is there anything else you want to leave the audience with?
Just this, be unapologetic about your pursuit of success and about what you want. Because when you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, when you're worried about what other people think, when you are treading cautiously, when you're doing all these things, it's a tough enough game as it is, but it's one that's worthwhile. It's going to sabotage your massive goals. And you have every right to think big. You have every right to dream big. You have every right to these massive goals. So the only way you're going to get them is to be absolutely and utterly unapologetic about pursuing them. And if somebody does not support your mission, then it's time to replace that somebody with somebody who does. That's it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Chris. This was amazing. I'm so glad we did this.
Me too.
Alrighty, folks. We're out, and I will see you next time on the Legalpreneur podcast. If you found this information helpful, I would be so grateful if you could share it with a fellow business owner. And it doesn't cost anything to rate, review, or subscribe to the show. Your support helps me reach more listeners, which allows me to support more business owners in their entrepreneurial journey. I'll see you next episode.